Disney Channel.
What's this podcast called?
Stepsister from Planet Weird.
Podcast from Planet Weird.
Oh,
Luck of the Irish. More like freak me in the eyeballs.
I love this movie.
No!
I told you not to bring up prom in this
you want
episode.
to talk about prom, mama? Dramacaflama, baby. I was nominated for winner homo.
God damn it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 295.
ooh, you know what that means? 295. Wait, we're almost at 300.
We are almost at 300. That's kind of incredible, no?
What the? Are we gonna do something crazy for 300?
We're going to watch 300, and we're going to Spartan kick each other in the parking
Can
lot.
we? That'd be so stupid.
Welcome to episode 295 of Podcast from Planet Weird with Juan and Sarah. That's us. Those are our names.
Yes, legally binding.
Yes, if you don't know who we are, that's okay.
No one
That is all
does.
right. That is expected. But this is a show where we talk about movies from the 90s and early 2000s, be it your Disney Channel original movies, your ABC Family movies that were always on. You know the kind. Maybe it starred Hilary Duff, Queen of Pop. Maybe it starred Adam Sandler
King of
as-
Pop.
as a Jewish cartoon explaining Hanukkah.
Honestly, I learned so much from that movie.
And I know, and don't I know it? But this month we have been talking about Brendan Fraser films.
Why do you say his name like that?
That is how you say his name.
I thought it was Brendan Fraser.
He says no.
He says no.
I mean, we all say it. I still sometimes will slip up and say Fraser. Like, it's kind of like Carla. Her name is Gugino,
But you say Gugino.
but I grew up, always saying Carla Gugino, so I still say that. So, like, apologies. But
so it's Brendan Fraser.
I think it's-
Fraser?
yes, I believe it's Fraser. Like he says, like a razor,
All right, Brendan Fate.
not like Frasier, like the show.
Brendan.
Hey, baby, I hear the blues
Fraser?
are calling. Yeah.
Okay, Brendan Fraser. Got you, man. Got anything for you, homie.
Anything for him. So yeah, we love Brendan Fraser, as a lot of people do nowadays. We've kind of been like, I don't know, at some point we all looked around at each other and said, hey, we all like intensely love this man, right?
We
And
all
everyone
looked at
was
each
like-
other and went, y'all getting a boner for this too?
And we were all like, yeah, actually, yeah, like I grew up on his movies, and he, not to be hyperbolic, but he changed my life. And so, he's kind of having a renaissance, and so we thought we'd have this month to celebrate some of his movies, just two, maybe a couple more next year. But we thought we would bring on Andrew from Super Yaki, who, if you don't know who they are, well, aren't you a silly
clown.
Billy? Yes, aren't you clowning around? Super Yaki, they sell apparel and little tchotchkes, your pins, your patches, your blankets, like I have right here from them, your cups, your home
trinkets, your
trinkets,
hoodads,
your knickknacks. Yes,
your
exactly.
patty wax.
They have all kinds of stuff. But we have followed them and loved them for years. And a couple years ago, they had a Fraser February collection, including stuff about George of the Jungle. And so for a while now, we've wanted to have Andrew to come on and talk about this movie, because he seems to, love it so passionately. And we were finally able to make it happen, which is very exciting. So, yeah, please
He's a great
enjoy.
guy.
Yeah, please enjoy this episode with Andrew from Super Yaki. Thank you again to him for coming on.
Mhm.
Support their store. It's a small business, POC owned. Just a couple people doing the thing. And just honestly, it's not even like, oh, just support them because like they're good people. Like, yes, support them because they're good people, but also it's a sleigh. All the stuff they put out, love it. I guarantee if you go to their shop, there's at least one movie that you like that is represented in there. And if not, then I don't know, start watching the movies that they're making merch of because they're good.
True.
And that's what
Very
I'll
true.
say. And that's what I'll say.
Listen,
So
nothing they sell is a flop.
no,
No.
they're not making. I'm trying to think of like the worst movie. Like, they're not making movies of, or like merch of like the Passion of the Christ.
They're
you
not
know?
making merch about frenemies. Similarly
About the
to
Disney
Passion
Channel
of the
original
Christ.
movie Frenemies. You're right. But yeah, please enjoy this episode with Andrew from Super Yaki. We will see you at the outro. Goodbye.
Goodbye and hello to Andrew.
Hello, everyone. We are here with Andrew from Super Yaki, who is, I don't know if you would proclaim it yourself, but I'm going to say that like you could be a Brendan Fraser expert. And obviously Super Yaki is a company that I love. I know Juan, I've either gifted you some of their stuff or you've gotten it yourself.
I have a handful of merchandising.
Yes, a handful. I'm actually wearing my Brendan Fraser shirt right here from Super Yaki. I literally have a blanket next to me.
The blanket became Brendan Fraser.
The Super Yaki blanket. So we here at Planet Weird Pod are Super Yaki stands for sure. And I really loved when you guys released these during Fraser February. I think, what was it, like a couple years ago?
Yeah. I should also note, for legal reasons, that it actually came out in March.
Oh yes, I do remember this.
There was a few delays there, and we had it all planned out. We're like Fraser February, and sure enough, everything got delayed and pushed back. And we're like, you know what? It's a state of mind. We're gonna release it in March. Fraser February lives forever. So
it lives on.
And I mean, it's like not fair. February is like the shortest month, so I guess you could technically, it could expand. It could literally go into April. February could be April.
It's true. Oh, we missed it by like 2 weeks, but by that point, I think it was a little past what could have been technically February if you added on those extra 3 days. But
no. It's all those leap year days. Like they just start packing on, and you can just choose to end it whenever you want.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. But no, thank you both for having me. It's true. I do love Brendan Fraser. I wouldn't say I'm an expert. I would say that I am a well-wisher, a fan, a member of the Brendan Fraser fan club for sure. Expert, I don't know. I hate to put myself on that pedestal. I just think that he's a really cool guy, and I'm really glad we got to do some stuff for him.
Mm-hmm. And I know, like, because this year we've been doing theme months. We just did Annuary for Anne Hathaway. We covered a couple of her movies.
Brokeback
And
Mountain.
then that'll be next year. A bit heavy. But we decided to do Fraser February because I was inspired by you guys doing technically March, but doing your line of stuff. So last week, we did Journey to the Center of the Earth. And then, of course, we had to cover George of the Jungle. And I know we tried to get you on last year for this. So, like, this has been, like, an episode in the making. But, we're all finally here. We got it done.
Yeah, it's true. And thank you guys for being so patient with me. Yeah, it's an honor, to be here to talk about, Brendan, who's having a prolific moment. Not even
his revival.
Yeah, exactly. A reappraisal. I don't know how to... a reboot, if you will,
I like reappraisal.
Yeah, let's go with that. But no, I'm all for it. I love it. It's interesting. I wouldn't ever consider ourselves at the forefront of this, like revival, reappraisal, whatever. But it is funny to think that 2 years ago when the collection came out, when we were leading up to the release, I don't think there had been any news about The Well yet. He'd still sort of been like, stuck in direct-to-video, smaller role limbo. And I just was really excited about doing something for Brendan. But at the time, I remember talking to, my partner, and I was telling her, like, I don't know if if this is going to like succeed. Or I don't know if people are going to be quite as like enthusiastic about Brendan Fraser as I am right now, because it really did feel like we were taking a leap of faith at that point. And I'm so glad to see that, like, not only have people really retained that fondness for him, but it's just like come back like 10 times as strong. And now people are just like rabid, and you know, there's certainly a line that people have crossed into just sort of like creepy, you know, stan worship. But I like to think that we're sort of like, you know, hovering right around it, but not quite going past that marker there. But yeah, to be here now, where it's seemingly anytime there's Brendan Fraser news, I feel like people are always forwarding it to us, or sending us an email, or mentioning us, saying like, "Did you see this? Brendan Fraser just sneezed. Did you catch that?" You know, and so it's like, yeah, this is great. This is fantastic. I'd love to be a part of this. You know,
Word.
We really have like the Super Yaki like social media like universe really has become just kind of like a hub for Brendan Fraser fans, because like I remember even like when you guys launched the line and like iTunes had like a sale on like a bunch of Brendan Fraser movies, I was like, oh my god, they know they're doing this for you guys.
yeah, yeah. It is weird. Maybe someone at Amazon just like caught wind of it and they're like, you know what, now's a good time. Let's capitalize on this. Like, as obvious, you know, Jeff Bezos always riding our coattails. You know, which is fine. You know, I get it. But it has been really cool to sort of see that like return to the top for our guy. You know, nothing but the best for him. You know, just exciting to be in this moment in history. You know, to see him make that comeback.
Speaking of, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I mean, I think he's just gonna do the leap, like action hero to drama superstar, like full throttle. I don't know who else would have done that. I don't know many action stars that like just jumped the gun.
Well, he
But
was
it's
in
like,
dramas as well before.
Yeah, he
no,
was.
but the whale. That's
That's
drama.
true. This is Aronofsky is a different breed.
He
of
said
drama, for sure.
artistic. This is who's that person that was like cinema is dying because who's that?
Wasn't that Scorsese?
Yeah, Scorsese is loving the whale. That's cinema for him.
But speaking of you joking about like, oh, maybe Jeff Bezos is onto us or something. You guys have gotten like noticed by, you know, like you guys were like featured on the Tonight Show or like Kelly Clarkson showing off the Judy Greer shirt. But literally hours ago, your Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz, the Mummy iconic bumper sticker was Brendan Fraser approved on the red carpet for the BAFTA just hours ago, and I saw that, and that was totally cool.
Yeah, we are living we're living through history right now. It's crazy. I will agree. It is an iconic bumper sticker. People
Many tried to recreate it.
tried to recreate it. They can't put that magic on it. You know, the story behind it is it's long, but I'll go ahead and dive into it. It was about a few days before our collection came out, and I said, why don't I make a stupid bumper sticker? And so I just typed that up and I put it in a bumper sticker size, and I ordered 100, not thinking I was going to sell half of them. And then here we are, you know, here we are today, which for better or worse is the one, you know, product that has really broken through and resonated with like the widest swath of an audience that we could have ever asked for, you know. But yes, to talk about the bumper sticker, making it to his actual like hands, it's insane. It's crazy. You know, I can't believe it actually happened. We got an email from our friend Ali Plum, who is an entertainment reporter in the UK. And he reached out and he said like, hey, I might be interviewing, you know, Brendan Fraser on the red carpet at the BAFTAs. Could I get some of your bumper stickers? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Even if this was just a scam and I'm just sending 20 bumper stickers to someone pretending to be Ali Plum, like that's fine too, because you went through the trouble of you know, lying. So I feel like you deserve at least a handful of bumper stickers. Yeah, and then here we are a couple weeks later to see that video, to see, you know, screenshots. You know, I was out having lunch with some friends, you know, and when I got the notification, I was like walking out of a parking garage and my phone started blowing up with people like messaging us about it. And I mean, what can I say? It's a dream come true. You know, I can only imagine that when he accepts that award at the Oscars, that we will, I would assume, be who he thanks first. You know?
Yes, absolutely. I think on the screen behind him, it should just be the bumper sticker.
Just Yeah,
as
exactly.
the image.
Go
Yeah.
further. He's gonna
Yeah.
get his designers to make him an entire outfit.
Absolutely, out of the bumper sticker. Yeah, I buy more than enough. Yeah, I'll give him a discount. 15% off.
Oh yeah, yeah, just 50. Because he has
I-
the money.
I was looking back at. I was trying to figure out when I first like found Super Yaki, and I think I've been following you guys since like 2016, 2017 maybe. So just real quick for anyone that doesn't know like who you guys are, like how did you start and like why did you decide to kind of highlight all of these like kind of unsung heroes of like not necessarily bad movies, like just fun movies that aren't like as like heralded as often as other movies we see.
Yeah. I mean, well, first and foremost, thank you, Sarah. I mean, I do remember actually because I'm the one who's been packing almost every order since we first started shipping out orders. I see those names. I see everyone's names. I remember who's placing orders when and where in the recesses of my mind. I have all that information stored. So I do remember your name popping up over time and more than once. And when it comes up more than once, it sort of like imprints into my mind. So thank you for that. But as far as like how it all started, I mean, I guess how does any side business ever start, right? Like, I guess a desire to sort of take control of your personal finances with like the small hope that maybe one day you'll be able to do it full time, and I was sort of stuck at some really, really good jobs, but stuck nonetheless, that I enjoyed very much. And I sort of always knew I wanted to do something on my own. And I kind of just went for it. And I started making enamel pins, which were kind of, the thing for a while there. I don't know if people are still collecting those quite as often, but
I definitely am.
Yeah.
It might just be me though.
You with your wall.
Yeah. There's a handful of you guys out there, collecting enamel pins, but that sort of snowballed into, apparel and then, doing other kinds of things. And we've been really fortunate to have like a really solid, group. It's just four of us who run everything. It started with just me, shipping stuff out of my closet. And so now there's four of us, two of us, my partner and I here live in Los Angeles. And we run like the fulfillment and she does all the graphic design. We have someone based out of Austin, Texas, who does customer service and logistics. And someone based out of Orlando, who is our social media and communications director. Brittany and Julia, fantastic people. I think sometimes people assume that there's more to the business, but it's really just the four of us keeping all this together. So we're very much the Muppet Man of a small business, right? We're just kids stacked on top of one another with a trench coat over it. But we all just really love movies, and as far as like why we choose the movies that we choose, I feel like, it's just got to be a genuine, earnest interest in what we're doing, right? We don't try and swing for low-hanging fruit or, hey, everyone's making, Midsummer merchandise. Money's there. Let's try and pursue that. A fantastic movie, but does it necessarily need to be, heralded any more than it already is? I don't know. I mean, it certainly, wouldn't hurt, but like, I don't know if that's necessarily our forte. I think we're a little bit more interested in pursuing stuff that, might not necessarily be a harder sell, but sort of sits on the outskirts of what the film community at large will accept as like a classic, right? And we use that word in tongue in cheek, and we certainly know that there's a difference between something like The Godfather and The Princess Diaries, but for us, it's like we get so much personal enjoyment out of movies like The Princess Diaries, like George of the Jungle, which I'm excited to talk about. That sort of kind of get lost out there, but we know people have like a great time watching. I guess if you'd have to like, put a label to the kinds of movies that we try and celebrate or performers that we try and celebrate, it's like that movie that plays on TNT, right? Like on a weekend while you're, doing chores around the house on a Sunday, right? And you've seen it before, and you enjoy it. And when you see it on, you sort of stop what you're doing and you just get sucked into it and you're just sitting there watching, with the laundry basket in your hands. And you're just sort of sucked in because, wow, Con Air is really good. I love Con Air, and it's like you sort of forget like these are really fun, engaging movies, mostly because maybe they're not, considered as such. But yeah, we just have a great time. Is that enough? As much?
No, that's great. And I mean, there's another difference between The Princess Diaries and The Godfather, and that's the fact that I've never seen The Godfather, but I've seen The Princess Diaries at least 5 times.
Yeah,
And that has to say something for The Princess Diaries and something for The Godfather, doesn't it?
I think that. But to be fair, I mean, I picked 2 movies that are just, you know, the exact same, right? So if you've seen one, you've seen the other. So there's a little difference between the 2.
Exactly. And we're the same here. Like we're not covering like cinematic classics, but we will call like Cheaper by the Dozen a masterpiece because like who doesn't love just a little Steve Martin romp? So
yeah.
we're the same way, always saying like this is cinematic masterpiece, even though like we're not watching Goodfellas here.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
I don't even know what that is.
Did you ever watch the Animaniacs as a kid?
Sarah did.
Okay. Well, there was like a running like bit. There was like these pigeons. It was called Goodfeathers, right? And it was like a parody of Goodfellas. And that's how I knew Goodfellas, was by watching, you know, them. I watched Goodfellas being diluted through like Amblin
Cartoon.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like, oh, when I finally watched Goodfellas, I was like, this is where it comes from. This makes sense to me now. It's sort of that moment. But
No, the other way. They stole this from that pigeon bit.
yeah, they did, didn't they? Wow.
well, speaking of cinematic masterpieces, let's go ahead and dive into George of the Jungle, which is a 1997 American comedy film directed by Sam Wiseman and based on Jay Ward and Bill Scott's 1967 American animated television series of the same name, which is a spoof on Tarzan, the fictional character.
Who Disney no longer has the rights to. So now they only have George of the Jungle.
Well, then they have the 99 Tarzan film as well.
Well,
but I never knew that was like that there was a cartoon as a kid, like that there was an original cartoon and created by the same people that did Rocky and Bullwinkle. Like growing up, I watched Rocky and Bullwinkle because my dad really liked it, but I never knew there was a George of the Jungle cartoon by the same people. This was news to me when I read this.
I knew the little theme song that plays at the very beginning of the movie. Like I knew that from the cartoon. Never really saw the cartoon, but I knew the song because I think it would play like in the background of like Boomerang or just Cartoon Network or wherever it would air. That it was just like that, like, you know, those like little like
the bumpers,
the infant memories of like hear that shit in the background of something as like a super little kid, but you forget what it's from, and then it just comes back out of nowhere. That's what it is.
This movie was obviously released by Disney. It was released July 16th, 1997. It later went on to air on Disney Channel in 1998, which is where probably most of us saw this growing up, at least people around our age, Juan. It stars Brendan Fraser as the title character, the titular role, as Beanie Feldstein would say, a primitive man who was raised by animals in an African jungle. And it also stars Leslie Mann as Ursula, George's love interest, and Thomas Hayden Church as her treacherous former fiance.
What a
incredible cast. Before they went on to be in Spider-Man 3 and the Judd Apatow films.
I was like, who's in Spider-Man 3? And then I remember he played Sandman.
Of course. So this was directed by Sam Wiseman, who actually directed D2, The Mighty Ducks as well. That's my favorite Mighty Ducks movie, so that's a win right there.
Is that the one where they go to the Olympics, or is that the third one?
That's the second. It's like the junior.
That's Evil
Olympics.
Bombay, right?
Yeah.
Yes, where he slicks back his hair.
Where we get slick back nasty Bombay.
Yeah, I remember that. I mean, not to deviate too much and start talking about Mighty Ducks 2, but for whatever reason, the only scene that I remember is he's eating ice cream with like the assistant coach from like Iceland, and they catch him and they're like, "You're having dessert with the enemy," and it's like, wow, this is some serious intrigue here.
Those kids are fucking pissed.
Yeah,
they stay mad.
That was really because when they went and they talked to him later, they're like, "Oh, what'd you do last night? Did you get like to have a little dessert or something? Did you have a little ice cream?" They're like calling him out without calling him out. Damn, such a good movie.
Great movie. Anyways, I would like to say that a lot of attention gets paid, rightfully so, to Brendan Fraser for this role. But this rewatching it again in just a few hours ago, this whole cast is just like incredible. It almost feels like everyone was just they bought in. They were all on the same page. Everyone was like perfectly cast for their role. Thomas Hayden Church is like he's so good in this, and Leslie Mann is just like incredible. Everyone just like is firing on all cylinders, right? Even John Cleese, who
Yeah.
is a comedic legend, signing up to do the voice of an ape named Ape, probably wouldn't have been at the very top of his like wish list, I'd imagine, but like he really doesn't phone it in. He gives it his all. So great movie. Good.
Yes.
I think
As a
Thomas Hayden
child-
Church. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, as a child, Ape was always my favorite part. Of course.
True. I was just gonna say Thomas Hayden Church is just really good at like monotone, dry, but very comedically on time character. Like Sandman isn't one of those, but like he's dry.
Yeah,
He's sand.
because he's sand. Yeah, right. I mean, in that one, they sort of rob him of the ability to just be charming, and he's a charming, unlikable guy, right? Like, even though he's ostensibly like the villain in this movie, I mean, you sort of feel bad for him. You kind of like don't want him to end up on the bad side or anything. He's a likable, bad guy, I would say.
That's true. I mean, he is whatever the third newest Spider-Man movie, he's the same way. Like they were like, he's just gonna disappear for half the movie, and then he's gonna come back and be the hero, just like in the third one.
Yeah,
in the third Sam Raimi one.
And then we have Leslie Mann, who's playing like the sweetest person like that's ever been on screen ever, like the sweetest character.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. My partner's sitting right next to me, listening to me say this, so I have no shame in admitting it. But massive crush on Leslie Mann in this movie here. I was 10 when this came out. I remember seeing it in theaters, and that little light bulb clicking in my head, where you're like, wow, like there's something there. There's a spark there. I wonder you should be into 10-year-olds, And no, she's fantastic in this. She's so funny. Yeah, I was watching an interview with her, and they were asking her like, what was it about the role that sort of drew her to it, right? And she said she liked it because it was smart, innocent, and sweet. And I think she personifies that so well, right? Because she's emblematic of those things, right? She's smart, she's sweet, she's innocent, and it's just like a perfect role for her. Good stuff.
Again, great character actress, because that's her in every fucking role.
Yeah, she always seems like the sweetest person. Like similar to this, like her character, she's in like one episode of Freaks and Geeks, but plays like the sweetest teacher on there. And then like this was the first thing I ever saw her in, and then after that, as a kid, I saw her in like Cable Guy, Big Daddy, where like little different, getting into like Big Daddy, where she's like kind of the unlikable one in that movie, but like still always fucking great.
Yeah,
we loved her in Blockers. We think, what a film.
Oh, yeah, great. Blockers fantastic.
Blockers was incredible when she gets electrocuted and she's shaking. That's cinema.
That was real.
It was real. Yeah, she got electrocuted for that. She went full method.
Full method.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just think it's one of those, like every now and then you just catch a movie where it just fires on all cylinders, right? I know I've used the expression before, but I just can't think of any other way to like put it, right? Like the writing is fantastic. Sam Weisman did a fantastic job, who, was just a journeyman director who did a lot of TV. He did, I wrote it down, Dickie Roberts as well, too. Not my favorite movie, but for whatever reason.
Which Brendan Fraser cameos in.
He does,
I do know that.
Yeah. It was just a great mix. You can sort of feel like everyone was having a good time, and they knew what they were doing from the start. I don't know if this is jumping ahead or anything, but I was watching a little bit of the sequel just because I'd never seen it before. And I was just trying to get a feel, like, do they capture that same, like, manic energy, that cartoonish, sort of appeal, and they certainly try, but there's just something missing there. And I think you take so many of those elements out of there, it just doesn't work without this cast and this crew. You put on the same like veneer over it, and it should be the same kind of movie, but no disrespect to George of the Jungle 2, but just hard to live up to when something like this just works so well.
Hell no, full disrespect.
Full disrespect from Juan. Yeah, I was reading about it because I always saw the commercials for that on Disney Channel growing up, but um, so I just wanted to read about like if anyone returned. I think Thomas Hayden Church is like the only one maybe who returns.
I don't even remember.
But
I just remember the entire cast change. When I first saw it, I was like, "This is something." Who was that?
well, and especially as a kid, like a cast change like that of like the lead, that's a lot to take in. So of course we're gonna be like, this is an outrage.
I don't know who this man is.
But speaking of the cast, so for this first one, like there's also like incredible people like Holland Taylor, obviously,
Oh yeah,
like
so good.
so incredible. Like this, I feel like when I watched this as a kid, like her doing the like spots and stripes speech, I feel like as a kid I was like, oh my god, I just learned what like prejudice is. Like she taught me that. And like Richard Roundtree is in this movie. Shaft is literally in this movie. Like amazing get.
Yeah.
But yeah, just and then you mentioned John Cleese, incredible cast. We always like to let Juan guess what the box office was based on the budget. So Juan, this
ready.
this budget for this movie was $55 million. What do you think the box office was?
73 million.
73 million.
Did it do more? Was this
Yeah.
movie like great? I know it like would get a sequel, but like I don't know what like dignifies. Okay, 100
A little more.
more. 100. I'm gonna prices right this. Is that the show? I don't know. Which one's the one where you can't go over 200?
Okay, yeah, 174.4.
Oh, okay, shit. I was gonna say 150. That probably would have been closer.
Yeah, wasn't it like in the top 10 of the year, highest grossing movies? I think it was, if I'm remembering correctly.
I'm not sure. I do know that it was number 2 behind Men in Black.
Yeah, so I was looking into that. Yeah, it debuted at number 2 behind Men in Black, which, another fantastic movie, perfect movie. I love that movie. But even more interesting was that like it debuted number 2, and then the second week it retained the number 2 spot. Men in Black was bumped all the way down to number 3, but no, it was replaced by Air Force One, a Harrison Ford classic, right? So
I do like it.
It stayed in the top 5 for almost about a month there. For some reason, as a spunky 10-year-old, I was obsessed with like box office numbers. I don't know why. Like I would ask when my dad would get the Sunday newspaper, I'd ask him for like the entertainment section or whatever, and I would scroll through to see where all the movies were, who had grossed the most, and who was number 1, number 2, whatever. And I would just sit over there like poring over like all the information, just like it was some kind of like fantasy football league for me as a 10-year-old, right? Seeing who was moving up and down. But yeah, to keep that spot for so long, without ever, taking the number 1, not bad. It had legs.
Well, and that's a huge deal to be up against big like action, like spectacle movies like Men in Black or Air Force One. Like,
It was against fucking
for this
Star Wars.
comedy.
Mhm.
For this comedy to be still in the running for the box office up there, that's a huge deal.
Yeah, so like this movie it's not like it was a flop and like we're just rediscovering it now. Like it was a hit. It was a huge hit. People loved it. I mean, I saw it in theaters, we went to the theaters like every weekend, granted, but I actually remember we were watching something else, I think maybe the year before, a few months prior to this coming out, and there was a teaser trailer for George of the Jungle, and it was the narrator narrating, for thousands of years there's been a legend of, yada yada yada, right? I don't remember exactly what the words were, but and all you see is Brendan Fraser's legs running through the jungle. They don't really pan up.
But those legs.
Yeah, well, I didn't know those legs as a 10-year-old, but I was intrigued, right? I was like, who is this guy? I gotta know. But I remember when they panned up and they showed his face, my mom started screaming, right? Like she was like in the theater, like an auditorium, right? Like where you're not supposed to scream. She just started screaming, and that's when it clicked in my head, like, oh, this guy's a star. This is a big deal. I'm watching history in the making right here. It's because I based everything off of my mom's reactions to things, and so yeah, we saw it in theaters, and it's really not until today that it dawned on me that like my mom was maybe just like a lonely housewife that wanted to like go see this hot like dude like strut around in the loincloth all day,
Your
And we
mom
support that.
was so insane for Brendan Fraser, and hell yes, I would have, if I were your mom, if I were the same age as your mom, I
Yeah.
would have done the same in that same fucking theater. The hollering, the hooting that I would have done.
I wish I could have had like a theater experience for this movie because it came out in 97 and then 98 on Disney Channel. So that's where we saw it because we were 1 when this came out. So yeah, they used to air this all the time on Disney Channel. And yeah, I just remember it always being so fun. Like I can't remember like the first time I saw it, but it just would have been on Disney Channel. And it was just so different, I feel like, from other movies that would air on there because it's very meta, self-referential, the narrator and everything. It's just so good.
I mean, oddly enough, Scream also released a year before, but I don't know. I don't know why
96.
Scream is on the list of like. It came out in '96, but it's like top grossing movies of 1997. I'm looking it up right now because you mentioned it.
Because it probably stayed.
Oh, because into
theater.
January.
Because it was
You're
so
right.
good that they kept it.
Well, shit. There you go. We got Scream and George of the Jungle, two of the most meta movies to ever exist.
It's true, yeah. Now, what would happen if you combine the two of them?
A
I would
scary,
watch.
horny George of the Jungle.
Yeah,
But sign me up.
yeah,
Put me in. I'll die.
yeah. It's. I think it's so cool that y'all sort of got like that second wave of like TV viewings to let it imprint on your minds, because I do think that like this is gonna make me sound really old, but I just think that generations now consume movies vastly different than like we did, right? And I even though there is like a bit of an age gap between us, like I do feel we are of a similar generation, right? You guys might have been at the very end of what that consumer media relationship looked like, but to like be able to go home and just turn on a channel like the Disney Channel, which I'm sure is still on right now, but like obviously now there's like an app and everything that changes the landscape, but to just be able to go home and turn it on and not really have any choice as to what's playing, but just like watching whatever's on, and then being stuck with George of the Jungle. Like I remember watching a lot of movies on TV just because there was nothing else on there, so that I could have been watching George of the Jungle at that point,
Or like having to, like, kids don't understand like turning on a movie and it's like in the middle and you have no idea what just happened.
Yeah.
Because they always get the luxury of you can start it whenever, you can watch this whenever. But like us being like, okay, I guess when this airs again tomorrow, I'll find out the first 30 minutes of it because I don't know what's going on.
Or like setting a timer because like you went on the TV guide and you're like, fuck, this starts in 10 minutes. I have to be ready.
For both of you guys, you said you watched it as kids. Now, did you continue watching it periodically, like throughout your life, or was there a point where you watched it as kids and then you didn't really revisit it until you were, in your teens or 20s, and then you come back to it and you realize you remembered more about it than you realized?
I had never seen it past maybe like the 2 times that I probably saw it on Disney Channel.
Mm.
And I was telling Sarah, like before we had even started recording, before you had joined the call, I was like, I wish I had seen this yesterday because I got like stoned at like 3 p.m., which I never do. It was just like 3 p.m. into when I fell asleep, just crazy. But I was like, the way this movie unlocked so many little dumb things in my head that I thought would never come back out, but also like the fact that it's so funny. Like I was ready to fucking ream this movie just to, because I love dumb movies. Sarah knows that I love movies that are bad sometimes, quote unquote bad. But this movie is so fucking good and so funny. I would have been fucking rolling around the floor last night if I had seen it last night because it's so good. But yeah, this is probably like the first time in years that I had seen this.
Damn, I didn't know you hadn't seen it in that long.
No.
So you didn't remember it being like genuinely so good. You remember it being like what, like a silly kids movie maybe?
Yeah, I just remember it was like, it's funny, it's silly, it's George of the Jungle, right? It's like a spoof on Tarzan, blah. But I didn't remember how great this was. Like every bit hit. There was no bit in this movie that I was like, oh my god, that's fucking dumb. I was like, oh my god, this is so funny.
That's so interesting. Because for me, like I watched it growing up on Disney Channel and like they would air it constantly. So I probably saw it like at least 10 times, like from like youth to like high school. And then I probably hadn't seen it since maybe like high school or something. I feel like maybe our friend Dylan and I maybe watched it in college because I do have it on DVD. I think maybe I like brought it with me to my dorm and maybe we watched it. But like in the past like 5 years I haven't seen it, so I remembered it being like so funny, like one of my favorites as a kid. But yeah, I hadn't seen it maybe like 5 years or so, something like that. But I do remember like every beat, like I know it that well. So
Yeah, I think it had been at least a couple years since I had last seen it. Maybe when we were prepping for the Fraser February stuff, but rewatching it, this afternoon, it's just like, yeah, it unlocks a memory in your brain, and somewhere deep back there is like the entirety of the movie, beat for beat, memorized, right? Like I know what's coming up after every scene, I know every line. And I think it was just a product of, like, watching it so frequently as a kid, like on VHS, which of course my mom bought, and we had to watch constantly. And I was the oldest of four, so when I was done with it, it's like, okay, now my sisters got to watch it, and so they would recycle through it, and so it was just constantly playing it. I don't think we ever went more than like a month or two without it playing at some point in our household, So, but I do remember, like, when I was revisiting it a couple years ago, like I think it had been a while since I'd seen it, and I sort of remembered it as like, yeah, it's a smart, funny movie. It's really silly, it's really goofy. But I think what I hadn't like remembered was how like good natured it was, right? Especially nowadays, where even comedies sort of feel like there's like a through line of, like, I don't want to say cynicism, but like there is a sense of awareness that things aren't good in general, right? Which speaks to where we are today as a society versus where we were in 1997, right? But the movie just has such a good heart, and that's what I'm a sucker for. Is a movie that is earnest, is genuine. It is a dumb movie. It's a very dumb movie. I mean, it features Brendan Fraser, like eating coffee, right? Like, and then going Java Java Java. Like, that's not like, you wouldn't see that like in a masterpiece or whatever, right? It's a silly movie, but it is a silly movie that knows it's being silly, and it doesn't treat the viewer like an idiot, right? Like, it knows you're in on the joke too, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of comedies or like even like kids movies now where they treat you like you're the dumbest thing on the face of the planet, and it's just like little gags because they're just gags, right? Like there's something about like the timing in this movie that's so great with all the little comedic bits. Like even when they break the fourth, I think one of my favorite ones, and we can talk about it more when we start actually talking about the movie through it, but like the bit where they go, the bad guy fell in poo. Now let's throw our head backs and laugh. Like that was so, I legitimately wasn't ready, and I almost spit out my water because I was like, this is gonna be great, and then it just almost so good. Applause to the writers.
Yeah, hats off.
Before we get into the nitty gritty of the movie, just a couple trivia facts that I thought were interesting from imdb.com. This was the movie that Stephen Sommers, the director of The Mummy, 1999, saw and decided, oh, we should get him to be in The Mummy. They said, give me that guy in the loincloth.
Wow. Give me that guy in the loincloth for sure.
Almost every element of the George of the Jungle cartoon series is included in this movie, even the never argue with the narrator line that shows up in the cartoons. During a 2019 interview on Busy Tonight, co-star Leslie Mann confessed that she developed a real-life crush on Brendan Fraser during filming and ultimately fell in love with him. How could you not?
Yeah, how could you? Was it the interview where they surprised her with him in attendance?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah. That was
with the little reunion.
Yeah, very sweet.
And then lastly, Joel Hodgson, who is the creator of Mystery Science Theater 3000, and his writing partner Nell Scoville did a pass on the script early on. They added the opening cartoon sequence and were the first to make Abe talk, which is a crucial part of the movie, I think.
Yeah.
And the cartoon sequence as well, I think, is like such a way to kick off this movie we begin. Go ahead.
I love we've talked every single fucking time that there's some sort of animated entrance. We love it. It's so great. This gave me hardcore like Forbidden Porygon episode like of Pokemon because I was about to have a seizure. It's when it flashes blue, it was so jarring. I was like, no, not this. But the rest of it is great. I love the bit of like the animated opening where it opens up with Africa. And it's just like the heart of Africa, and then it has like all these other body parts, like the upper colon. I'm like, wow, great. We love her.
Yes, so this movie has a narrator who is talking about Pukuvu and a plane traveling there and a baby who gets stuck there, and that's the genesis of George of the Jungle.
Word.
He just got left there.
A baby.
No one can find him.
You
Little baby.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
this
baby's
opening-
notorious for surviving in the jungle. Like, just throw one out there and it'll live. Like, when you throw one in the pool and it starts swimming, same thing.
Yeah.
The trees.
Well, and then in Tarzan, it was what, the ship?
Again, notorious
His parents
pirate
were
babies.
on a ship, and then yeah. The opening theme song here is done by the presidents of the United States, who
All of them?
all of them. Well, it's the band that do the Drew Carey theme song, the Cleveland Rocks.
Oh, work.
And then they also did the theme song for My Date with the President's Daughter.
My Date.
So
Yeah, they also did the cover of "Video Killed the Radio Star" for the
yes,
following year, 1998. So they were big in the movie soundtrack business for a bit there.
I love it. Like all of their songs in these movies get me hyped up.
Mhm.
Even Drew Carey. I don't know if I've seen an episode of that show, but I love the theme song.
Good show,
So.
good theme song, good show.
You can
That's
start
nice.
yelling Cleveland Rocks, and someone in the crowd is going to know exactly what the fuck you're talking about, even if they've never seen the show.
Yeah, very
That's
true.
how good they are.
So this baby is, stuck in the jungle, and 25 years later, we have Ursula, who is on like an expedition with Mr. Kwame. And so sweet here, this Wild Thornberry's energy of look at these birds, look at these animals, so sweet.
She said, "Look at that! Oh no, a white man!" Turns the camera off.
Yes, Thomas Hayden Church, Lyle shows up, who is her fiance, and he has hired two poachers named Max and Thor, who you can immediately tell are going to be the bad guys in this film.
A dumb big guy and a slick back hair skinny one. Evil.
Yeah, it's like textbook cartoon bad guy. Like,
It's Bulk and Skull.
Yeah, from the Power Rangers for sure. It's that same structure. But so this whole group is on this expedition, and Juan, I do want to highlight, those the guys who say like this is the part where we put our heads back and laugh. Like they are some of the best bits of this movie of just like messing with Lyle. When
The
he's
shake a
talking
leg one
Swahili.
that happens right at the start when he arrives. He's like, shake a leg, and then they just do it.
Yeah, they are some of the best moments here. But Mr. Kwame tells the gang about the legend of the white ape that apparently is in this jungle. But we as the audience know that, oh, that's of course George.
that's George.
Yeah, sure, all of us.
Okay.
I cheat, and I was ready for an albino gorilla.
You really
Like the bat in was it Ace Ventura when nature calls?
Mhm.
That same situation. I was like, okay, I see it.
The next day we see the gang continuing their exploration, and we have the first bongogram of the animals kind of letting George know that there's some people nearby. Bongogram, another thing that gets me hyped, seeing those apes just
Doing
start
their
playing
thing.
the bongos. Love it.
People don't bongogram anymore. It's unfortunate.
It seems like nobody wants to bongogram anymore.
When did what a terrible waste of communication. When did the Poison Ivy Batman movie come out?
What, like 99?
I think that was 90. I think that might have been the same year, actually.
Wait, for real? Oh my gosh. Because let me tell you, I saw those gorillas going doom 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 doom, and I was like, no
Yeah,
fucking way. Poison Ivy's in the next studio next door doing the same thing. They got the same actors. They said, bring them over.
Yeah, it was 97, by the way.
What? So good.
It was a big year for
Gorillas and drumming.
Yeah, gorillas and drumming. Yeah.
Wow, I love that. And Also, those are like real people in like gorilla suits. I know Jim Henson's Creature Shop did a lot of those and
Yeah.
done so well.
I watched a
Iconic.
video. Yeah, I watched a video for how they were designed and how all the movements were made. It's some really incredible work, right? Like the kind of stuff that nowadays, people
Would
would
just
look
be
at
CGI'd.
the script, yeah, and be like, yeah, that's just CGI. It'll just be cheaper to CGI it, which is
Well-
such a shame because all these gorillas had such personality and such character. The way they moved, the way they interacted with everyone. It was just, yeah, it was part of the charm.
I mean, for better or for worse, probably for better. The way that they used a realistic lion, and she's coming up. Well, he's coming up. He has dick and balls. We see it in the movie. The way they use an actual lion, I was like, there's no fucking way, because not even Jumanji had the gall to get a realistic lion on the set, but they had one here. They
Yeah.
had one here.
Mm-hmm.
We have this is like our first big narrator joke, which is the awe versus AWE joke.
That was
Love
good.
that. Also, nobody dies in this story. They just get really bad boo-boos when one of the guys
Yeah.
falls off the bridge.
Fantastic.
When what's his name? What's the bad guy's name in this movie?
Lyle?
When Lyle Crocodile starts shaking that fucking bridge, I was like, we all know a man. We all know a man who would pull that stunt no matter what. That's an uncle. That's, your dick uncle that's like, it's okay, mijo. Nothing's gonna happen. And then the shit gets too rickety and you start to cry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Seems like you're speaking from personal experience.
Yeah, I know. Do you want to talk a little bit more?
No,
about
we're not trauma dumping tonight.
So yeah, like we have the guides making fun of Lyle a little bit. And Lyle decides to take Ursula with him to go find the white ape on their own. And this is when the lion that you just mentioned, Juan,
That
pops
real
out.
ass lion.
And speaking of lions, who's a cowardly lion is Lyle.
He
'Cause
running.
He is gone, and Ursula is saved by George.
After George pulls some like 1990 whatever wrestling moves on this lion, he says pile driver.
And
How does he know that? I don't know. But he knows.
Well,
it.
it's interesting you say that because I was thinking about that. I'm like, how does he know this reference? Is there a TV in the treehouse that he's somehow watching?
Do you think when the airplane crashed, someone had like a WWE magazine?
Yeah, and
I don't know if those are a thing, but
it's the only thing he's been able to read for 25 years. Yeah, I could see that.
I mean, the gorilla has a library.
Ape has a library. Well, also
Ape
we
has a
have
library.
the apes at the end that like all know the ninja moves. Like they had to learn that from somewhere as well.
It's primal. It's
They
that
had-
primal connective wave.
They had to have cable.
Yeah, they had to be like watching like Ninja Turtles and like WWE.
There's a little cable box TV just tucked away somewhere in that treehouse. Those little pink ones.
We have George taking an unconscious Ursula to his home. Lyle wakes up and sees that she's gone. Like he vaguely sees a man take her away, a white ape take her away. And when Ursula wakes up, she meets Ape, who has made her breakfast.
Cute.
Cute, makes some eggs for her. She's kind of freaking out that he's talking.
I didn't
She's
know he was gonna talk
delusional,
either.
passes out. How do you not remember him talking?
I'm telling you, I hadn't seen this since for forever. So I was like, oh, I can't wait for like ooh, ooh, ah, ah. But like when George talks to him, like we'll understand him like Tarzan. I thought they were gonna use Tarzan logic, but no, they said where he talks. He talks the whole time.
That was just such a big part of why I love this movie, so I can't imagine thinking he wasn't going to talk. But I love that for you. I love that you were shocked,
Thank you.
just as shocked as she was. But she passes out again, and then the next day she wakes up and remembers everything that went down. She's thanking George for saving her, and asks for help finding Lyle and the guides. And this is where we get introduced to Shep, George's dog, which is an elephant. Now, this is some CGI, but it honestly, to me, it holds up.
Is it? Is this a CGI elephant?
I mean, some of it, not all of
I was okay. Yes, because
They do a combination. Although I'd love to live in a world where you can train an elephant to like run around like that and chase a giant log. But yeah, Roger Ebert famously loved this bit. He said this was the funniest part about the movie for him was seeing Shep run around in circles and plopping down like a dog.
He loves animal bits. 'Cause we
Roger
watched-
Ebert is such a fucking monster. He will just love the most random shit.
Yeah, we watched an interview of him when he was talking about Dr. Dolittle, and he loved like all the dog butt jokes. He's a big fan of like animal humor.
Yeah,
is
he knows what he
interesting.
likes. You know.
He'll rip your movie to shreds unless it has animal humor.
And then and then we have Lyle and the gang searching for Ursula while George and Ursula and Shep are all running around in the forest. Another bongogram where Tookie says that a monkey is in trouble. We have this little monkey that I know Brendan Fraser talked about in an interview that he was kind of tough to work with, as most monkeys on set are.
All the monkeys were real.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
wild.
Sarah, I think we were watching the same interview. Is that the one where he was saying where they had to put a little fur bikini on him because?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I was
'cause
watching
he would
Graham
keep
Norton.
shitting?
Yeah, the Graham Norton show. That's right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you want to tell the story? Go for it.
Well, he was also like jerking off, basically, was what Brendan Fraser was getting at.
That little monkey was pulling the badge on set.
Yes, apparently he was just like fully erect like for every scene, so they had to find a way to like hide it. Otherwise, a lot
He'd
of
go
those scenes,
crazy.
the monkey's like right next to Brendan Fraser's face, and I can't imagine being any more uncomfortable about a scene partner.
Full
So-
boner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, who wouldn't? He's seeing Brendan Fraser basically nude. I want to talk to everyone else who was on set, see if no one else had a boner like that monkey did.
And I haven't seen The Fablemans, but I heard in an interview he said that that's the same monkey that's in The Fablemans.
Really? That's what almost 30 years apart. Did those little guys live that long?
I don't
I'll
know how
look
long
this
monkeys
up.
live, but I there's a more recent Graham Norton interview where he was talking about the monkey
Captured.
again.
Wow.
Monkey.
Okay.
He can't stop talking about that monkey.
Live.
It just haunts him.
Anyways, so yeah, we have the whole monkey scene of the monkey standing up to the lion so he can look cool in front of the little monkeys, the big monkeys that were picking on him. We have George teaching Ursula how to vine swing.
Can I interrupt for just
Yeah, go ahead.
backtrack to that monkey scene? So aside from the horny monkey, I think this scene for me really seals the deal. Because Brendan just does such a great job, like delivering this performance here, right? He's just talking to a monkey, right? Like you're not getting a lot back from a monkey, right? Like most times I'd imagine you're lucky if he even gestures in the direction that you're trying to get, a trained monkey to move in. But he just really seals it. Like he's so sweet and he's so caring to this monkey who is, according to the movie, being left out because he's a runt, to the other monkeys. And Leslie Mann, sees this transaction. It's very sweet. And that's kind of where she sort of starts to realize, like, oh, I'm falling for you because you're not just a hot guy, right? You're a very sweet and tender guy. And I think that scene right there really encapsulates what Brendan can do so well, which is just find that humanity and really treat anyone like they deserve every like ounce of respect and attention in whatever moment you're caught in, So kudos to Brendan Fraser for really nailing that performance there.
No, it's like when you have like those situations in other movies where it's like a little kid that's
Mhm.
getting picked on, and you're like, it's like what's that movie? Billy Madison.
Yeah.
When he pees his pants.
When he pees his pants, and he's like, everyone
We all
cool
hear-
pees their pants. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that same like little lovable moment of like, oh, holy shit, you're like so sweet. Like you're so sweet. You're willing to do whatever, even if it's something dumb, to make this like little whatever it is feel good. Like, because a child can be a
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Him and Leslie Mann both like just do such a good job playing sweet characters. I just rewatched Blast from the Past yesterday, and like that's another one where he's like just so lovable and so sweet because he's so naive to this new world and just like falling head over heels for Alicia Silverstone's character, and like being uh like when she's like, no, like you don't want to hit on me, stop, and he's just like, yeah, okay, like I won't do that, like just
Yeah.
being completely respectful of her and everything is so great.
I believe that that's just Brendan Fraser. Like that
Yeah.
just that speaks to the people that they are genuinely, as opposed to them just being like great actors. Like they're just great people.
Yeah, there's some interviews that they did like during press junkets for like George of the Jungle, and he's just like he definitely is a George of the Jungle type, but like obviously not raised in the jungle by apes, but like a variation that
we know of.
Oh, you're right. I mean, jury's out, but he's a quiet, soft-spoken guy. Like he's just just a big kid, right? Like in those interviews, and you can see why this performance works so well for him. It was because it was sort of tapping into like a part of him that felt sort of natural, organic to him. Sort of this outsider who doesn't really feel ostracized by society if he doesn't fit in or anything, right? Because he's just doing his best or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Also,
Good.
real quick thing. Capuchin monkeys live to be at least 20 or at most 25 years old. So maybe
This could be a really
Perhaps.
yeah.
Before I get into these last couple beats in like the first act, like I just want to say, sitting down, I forgot that this is like a kids movie, so like the runtime is like 90 minutes. I was fully expecting like a 2-hour movie, but this movie like
We're
packs so
trained.
much in to 90 minutes. Like I didn't remember us
occultist.
getting. Well, I didn't remember. Yeah, Thomas Hayden Church's cult behavior, but I didn't remember like us getting to San Francisco. I don't know. It felt like so quick to me. Like I guess I thought we were going to be in the jungle longer, but I totally forgot that like it's like a full like just first act in the jungle, then San Francisco, then we're back in the jungle.
Yeah, it's bookended by the jungle scenes.
I really like it. I mean, I think comedies do better when they're kind of faster like this because you don't have a lot of time to just meander. So every beat has to hit fast and hit hard, and then you just got to go to the next one.
Yeah, I thought it was really well paced. Like I was, again, maybe just because I didn't think of this as a kids movie, like I've assumed, and because I just rewatched all the Mummies, I guess I was assuming it was going to be 2 hours like that. But yeah, I think it just does so well, like packing it all into 90 minutes, and it doesn't feel like rushed to me. Like it still felt right.
Mm-hmm.
But these last couple jungle scenes before we get to San Francisco, we have Max, who is one of the poachers, offering money to the guides to help capture the white ape and bring him home alive.
But Sarah, they only speak Swahili.
Yes, that's the little
Or so we
Swahili
fucking
bit
think.
there. Yes. And then we have the waterfall scene where after George has asked Ape how to like help for how to make Ursula his mate, quote unquote. He's puffing up his face, he's throwing leaves around, hopping up and down, because Ape kind of played with him a little bit.
I was gonna say Ape is this gay ass Ape. He has a crush on George, and he is not willing to let him go.
Okay.
I thought this was a little one of those saboteur moments. It was
He's
wrong.
sabotaging. I think it's just Ape trying to like be like, I'll just mess with them because why not?
I do have to say I love the narrator at the opening of this like the waterfall thing when he's like at a very expensive waterfall location, like just fully being like, this took a lot of fucking money, y'all.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like that also like drove me into like, this is such a good fucking movie. Just the narrator changing whatever they want, honestly.
And then we have at night Ape helping George again, kind of woo Ursula, where he brings over that book of like, I've been looking at this book about like human, like
the pickup lines book.
Yeah, the pickup lines. And then we have the dance scene to De La by Johnny Clegg. This is a song that I've loved since this movie. Like,
Oh, it's good.
so good. Juan, I feel like I remember like us in the dorms, like me being like, guys, remember that song from the end of George of the Jungle? And everyone being like, no. But me like playing it and being like, yeah.
Yeah,
and, like
this
no
song-
one.
I mean, I didn't recognize it to that, but like I love this song.
For me, like the day like the songs in Beetlejuice, and then like this song were like similar to me of like ooh like kind of like island Caribbean type of music, stuff like that. Loved it.
It's so good that they bring it back at the end.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The creatives behind the movie knew we cannot contain this like banger of a song to just one sequence. We gotta run it back. We gotta bring it back. Extended dance number. Everyone's having a good time.
Well-
Again, not up ahead, but like that's my favorite way to end a movie is with everyone dancing on camera to a song. It's like
Absolutely.
The ending dance sequence.
Mhm.
Every great comedy has one. Shrek, Ella Enchanted,
Harriet the Spy.
Harriet the
Yeah, there
Spy.
you go. Perfect.
Yeah, I do love that.
Perfect. Yeah.
I think what makes it even better is that like you get this very genuine moment of like right before they start dancing. Is this where they also do like the Lucky Charm thing?
Yes, they give each other the ring, or like she gives him the ring.
Your cereal box prize, baby. That's a real jewel. You cannot lie to me. That looks too expensive for cereal box. But like you get this very tender moment of her being like, "This is my luck charm," and then he puts it on his necklace, and then he's like, "Because isn't this also where she goes? Aren't you afraid of like being embarrassed or looking stupid?" And he's like, "I don't know what the fuck that means. I live in the jungle." But I think it's so tender because you get like that emotional tie-in with the music, and then you get it again at the end, which is like not many people like. I mean, people know this and people like understand it, but like it's very Pixar-y, where it'll be like, here's a song that we're gonna emotionally tether you to, and then we'll play it somewhere else just to connect it back, like that very like thematic like emotional connection thing. I'm like, George of the Jungle, you fucking did it. You hacked into the matrix that is Pixar and just went, we're gonna do it.
After the dance scene, we get the iconic "Now comes the part where we throw our heads back and laugh" scene, which has kind of become a GIF online, a nice meme, reaction meme. And then we have Lyle finally arriving at George's treehouse, where Ursula is pissed at him for running away from the lion. And then I did not remember George getting shot.
George getting shot in the head? Question mark?
But he doesn't die. He just gets a really big boo-boo. So it's
Yeah,
fine.
he just gets a really big boo-boo.
Yeah.
Does he get shot in the head? That's the only wound that you see is like a patch right here. So I'm like, he got fucking shot.
Yeah,
in
I
the
think
brain.
that's what we're supposed to infer. And that's probably why I forgot, is the narrator just cuts and is like, well, now we're on a plane and he's gonna get medical attention and everything's fine.
Where they're like, he's gonna get the best medical attention, and then Leslie Mann goes, "You're gonna get the best." I love those fucking lines so much when the narrator and then the person just do the thing. It's so good.
They repeat it.
Mhm.
So yes, Leslie Mann, Ursula, and George are on the plane. He's gonna get some medical care. They're going to go back to San Francisco, which is her home. And we have Max and Thor getting arrested and deported.
Do they get deported?
Quote unquote. We have
They get
Lyle,
released from jail.
that great bit of Lyle being in that police lineup and all the guys laughing at him. That's great. And then so we hear Max and Thor talking about how they want to steal Ape, the ape, because it's a talking ape. They're like, we have to take him.
Well, first they were gonna fucking shoot. What's his name? Spar? What's the elephant?
Shep.
Spur.
Shep. Yeah, because they were like, they wanted to steal his like baby tusks. They're like, he has ivory. I'm like, bitch, where those little nubs? You get lucky if you get 50 cents a pop for those. But yeah, they're gonna steal the little gorilla. They're gonna steal ape.
And when we arrive in San Francisco, we meet Ursula's friend Betsy, who I loved in this movie. Like, I have no idea if this actor went on to do like anything else, but like she just had that great like best friend in a rom-com energy.
Yeah.
Very like Judy Greer. I was like,
Yeah.
she's so good in this movie.
Yeah, she studied at the Judy Greer School of Best Friend Academy.
Yes, she must have took her master class because she did such a good job.
Yeah.
But
And what
Betsy,
a great way to introduce her. Full
yes,
naked
just see
George.
naked. naked George. Yes, and she is telling Ursula, like, explain to your parents what happened, that you don't want to marry Lyle anymore. Introduce them to George, because Ursula obviously has an engagement party because she was engaged to Lyle, but now she wants to call that off. And before they go to the engagement party, Ursula takes George shopping.
And buys him the ugliest fucking outfit I could have ever seen.
Which outfit?
The what is it called? Like the suede jacket that's like really oversized, and the black
okay.
turtleneck that's tucked into the black pants.
Don't say that. Hey, wait, time out. You can't say that because I was watching this. I was like, that's a good fit.
No!
Down.
I thought you were talking about the
Like
suit.
a
I was like,
jacket,
that's a classic suit.
Turtleneck. It's a good length right here. But now that I know that this is a consensus, I take that back. I'd like to retract that. I didn't like.
Listen, people can like whatever they like. I just hate turtlenecks. I
Well,
think
it was
they're
also the
worst thing.
90s.
That's
Yeah.
true.
I feel like turtlenecks were bigger in the 90s.
You know what it's giving me? It's giving me very like a what's his name? Van Damme? What's his first name?
Jean-Claude.
It's giving me very
Van Damme.
Jean-Claude action movie, like super like action star outfit, just a turtleneck with a jacket over it. You can't tell me that I'm wrong. Every 90s like strong man action hero wore that outfit.
But they also wore like a wife beater. What do they call? I know that's not really.
Yeah,
His tank top,
just like a ribbed tank top.
Okay, that I just think he's beautiful. I just think Brendan Fraser looks absolutely gorgeous in this movie. So when he wore that, I said,
No, you're right. Action stars in the 90s had two looks. It was either bloodied tank top or it was turtleneck with suede jacket.
Yeah.
She takes him to Neiman Marcus and like name drops Neiman Marcus. And like, so growing up, I remember like going to the mall and seeing Neiman Marcus for the first time, being like, oh my God, that's like from George of the Jungle. Like not knowing that like every mall or like many malls over the country have a Neiman Marcus. I thought we were just special, but
Wow. You really thought you were something.
news to me. So we have the mom, played by Holland Taylor, seeing George and Ursula walking down the street. And again, the narrator's like, here's your coincidence of the movie. Who sees them? It's the mom while they're walking down the street. Meanwhile, back home, we have Ape kind of yelling at all the animals and at Shep because everyone misses George. Things are going awry out there. Which brings us to an incredible scene where George is watching TV while Ursula is going to work. She says, just stay here, do nothing. Of course, he sees the weatherman say, go outside, it's a great day. So he does just that.
Well, he's coked up on coffee, so like he's at the mercy of anyone.
Yes, and he ends up at the Bay Bridge where he sees a parasailer stuck and decides to save him.
I think this is just tried and true to like 90s and like early film, like before everything became CGI, everything became blue screen, green screen. The fact that they had this man crawling on this fucking bridge, like actually on this bridge, they had him standing on top of it. The OSHA is screaming. OSHA is hooting and hollering somewhere. They're going, no. I was not expecting this. This is so good. I forget how good shit like this looks because everything's CGI now.
Yeah, I mean, like a scene like that again. Not to beat a dead horse, but a scene like that nowadays, it's like it's just CGI. You just throw them in front of a green screen. We'll figure it out in post, whatever. And the fact that like in the 90s, like not in the 90s specifically, but like before CGI sort of took over as the go-to filler for these like small scenes, like a shot like that, which really only lasts like a couple seconds, right? Like you don't really see too much of that, right? It's just a few shots here and there. They went out of their way to actually put a dude up there and film it from like all these angles, make it look really cool. There was a traffic jam because they had the film up there and everything. I remember reading about that.
People were mad.
Yeah, people thought that a guy was in trouble.
Yeah.
Oh wait, what?
All it was just for this movie, just like to really solidify this shot. And yeah, I mean that like we could run for hours just talking about like what those compositions really mean compared to like how those shots are made now. But there's just something about being able to see something that your eyes know is real, right? It's like a tangible space and time or whatever, right? Versus just a green screen or whatever, right?
I was scared.
Yeah, no disrespect to the CGI artists out there. I mean, I really mean no offense to them at all whatsoever. But there's just something about like being able to see a physical like action happening, you know, that your brain knows is real.
Like it can't be multi-angled either. It's like you get this one fucking viewpoint of this one thing because that's all we can afford. You're not going to get 37 shots of him swinging, which I also thought was insane that they had someone swinging on that bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a slight nod to "Don't Rain on My Parade," like the musical sequence from Funny Girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where and I haven't seen that movie. I've seen that scene from the movie, so I know where Barbara is like on the boat, and so they have Leslie Mann up there in the front of the boat, and it's like mirroring that, and they kind of play like some of the musical cues from the song. So little nod to "Don't Rain on My Parade" there. Yes.
Fun movie, very smart.
Okay, gonna have to watch this.
Yeah, like us at like 5 years old on Disney Channel, we don't know anything about that, but now I'm like, oh my god, the nuances in this movie.
I mean, you
Barbra
also went to school
Streisand.
for film, so
They didn't teach me about Barbra Streisand though.
wow, what a fucking
They
letdown.
should have made us watch Yentl. Anyways, so Mom Holland Taylor sees George and Ursula on the TV because like after he's rescued the parasailer and he is plopped onto the boat that Ursula was on, they hug and the TV crew is like, oh, romance is in the air. So Holland Taylor is pissed. We have back in the jungle, Max and Thor arrive at the treehouse and tranquilize Ape. And
snatch him up.
No.
Yes, Ape tells Tookie to find George. So that bird flew
Fast.
from Africa all the way to San Francisco.
It took a long way too. It went through New York.
It had to stop and see the sights. And then we have this is another like fun thing about this movie is not just like the narration or like meta humor, but that like fantasy sequence of her telling her parents like, oh, like this is what happened in the jungle, but like I don't want to marry Lyle and like this is George and everything's fine, and they go, that's great, and the narrator goes, just kidding,
and then it's Holland Taylor. Yeah, right. It's Holland Taylor just screaming.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, this is when the parents meet George when he swings in and ruins the cake for the engagement party. I also didn't know that Holland Taylor's talking to the mayor at this party, and that was the real mayor.
Was it really?
Yeah, he's just like making a cameo in this movie,
Work.
playing himself. I don't know, but I love that. He probably said like, if you're gonna film in my city, I want to be in this movie.
If you're gonna clog up that bridge for up to a couple hours, you're gonna get me in this movie.
It feels like that was a thing that people did in the 90s specifically. Like anger management is from the 2000s, but I know that Rudy Giuliani had like a few like lines in that movie for some reason,
Of course he did.
So yeah.
It's like
he said, I want to be in this with Sandler and Nicholson. I want to be a star.
No, you ain't.
It worked well for him though. Now we all love Rudy, right?
He's so respectable.
You would love him, just like the other politicians that have appeared in movies. Donald Trump in Home Alone too.
Yeah, that's
it's so weird.
To be fair, he wasn't a politician then. He was just
rich.
But we saw the evil.
Yeah,
we saw it encroaching.
He looked at Macaulay Culkin, and you could see it in his eyes.
He felt fear. He actually screamed for reals.
About that scene specifically though, with the mayor, where Holland Taylor is talking with him, and she's like, "Here, have some pate," and he's like, "I don't know, you know me, I don't touch that stuff." And then the scene ends. I remember as a kid thinking like, "I don't get this joke." Like that one just went over my head, right? And I still rewatching it now. Maybe I'm just a dummy, but like I still don't understand. Like, was there supposed to be like a punchline there, or just the fact that he doesn't like pate, or
what is pate made out of?
I didn't get that either.
I didn't know how
Yeah,
to spell pate.
I thought as a kid, like maybe this one's just not for me or whatever, right? But then rewatching it, it's like, there's. I feel like this is being played for a laugh, but maybe they just couldn't cut out his scene entirely, or he was going to cut off tax incentives or something. But I don't know.
I
Yeah,
will
well,
ruin the lives of everyone here.
It just made it seem like, I don't know, like he didn't care like about her or something.
Are we supposed to know that he like in real life loves pate or something, or I just
Yeah.
maybe that was just a thing that
The
just
fact that he said, I don't touch this stuff. She's like, oh, sorry. Like,
yeah, it feels like there was another scene filmed right before that like maybe got cut
mhm.
and they just forgot how to fix this or whatever. But anyways, yeah, just a straight thought.
Maybe it's referential to the iconic Joan of Arc fight at the Battle of Pate in June 18th, 1429. I don't know.
That sounds like you spelled something wrong there. But we have the scene where all the women at this party are watching George with the horses.
And they're
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah.
I know, for like a movie that like aired on Disney Channel, there's some jokes that like are definitely like more adult, but they kind of like squeak by. Like
I
Holland
mean,
Taylor referencing like Leslie Mann's vagina at one point, but like saying it in like a way different way.
there's the one of just. I'm assuming it's about horse cock because they're the guys that are like chicks love horses, and I'm like, what does that even mean? Like that's what I didn't get. I was like, what the fuck does that even have to do with any of this? Horse girls?
No, I think that joke is just the guys being like, oh, they think these two men think that all these girls are looking at the horses. They don't realize that they're looking at Brendan Fraser in this.
I mean,
Yeah.
Brendan Fraser, I guess, is also swinging because when that best friend walks into that apartment and she's nude, she's hypnotized. He got her.
I do remember that scene and seeing the reaction from my mom on that one. Mostly because it was just like, you could sort of see this like, these eyes, very very special eyes, reserved for Brendan Fraser. But but that joke with the guys who were just like, oh, I guess why do chicks love horses so much? I think that was more just like a knock on their inability to like realize like it's not the horses, dummy. Like you're just not getting it,
Oh,
Like,
work.
there's a sensitive, tender man running around, with his shirt half unbuttoned, chasing these horses around. So.
Or could it be it's like a Fabio or like a romantic novel thing? Because George is dressed very like open blouse, white big shirt, running around horses.
I mean, I'm assuming that's what they based his look off of for this horse part.
So
Yeah,
I think it could also be that because like those covers are always like some hot man riding a horse.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Fabio minus the blood from the pigeon
Yeah,
on his face. So.
What?
but that was a goose.
It might have been
What?
a goose. Remember when he rode the roller coaster and the bird hit his face?
Oh my god, no!
Around, I think he hit the bird.
Who's to say?
Fabio punched the shit out of the bird.
But yeah, I
What?
always thought this scene was kind of interesting for like something that still aired on Disney Channel. Like it's not like too adult, but it's still like, oh, these women kind of like lusting after this man. I thought was
Rightfully
interesting.
so.
It's a very PG.
Yeah,
lust,
yeah.
but yeah, it's very romantic. You see Leslie watching. You can sort of see these little crumbs of love that are sort of like coalescing into like the full on realization that, oh my god, like this is the guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Like to me,
gorgeous.
like I know she doesn't fully realize it till at the end when she's talking to her parents, but this was like to me like the moment of her realizing, oh shit, like I'm in love with George of the jungle.
George.
So then this is the stripes and spots scene that I was mentioning earlier of Holland Taylor pulling George aside and saying, like, you can't be with her. She needs to be with Lyle for her like social status, and like zebras and leopards don't get together. Like Ursula's a stripe and you're a spot. Kind of like threatening him to like kind of knock it in the way.
Mm-hmm.
And then he leaves and he packs his Air Jordans with him.
Yes, the random Nike sponsorship. I did always think those Air Nikes were super cool because of this movie. The way he like lifted them up.
Mm-hmm.
Never bought a pair, but
There's some great product placement. We were talking about that in this movie. When in that scene when he's high on coffee and he's riding on the top of that bus. Like he's eating McDonald's for some reason, right? They don't really
Mhm.
just up there with some McDonald's, which begs you to like question like, how did he know about McDonald's? Where did he get the money for McDonald's? What did he know how to order? Like, but it's there. He figured it out. He's got the McDonald's bag. He's having a great time.
He got it supersized. I think that was still allowed.
And the fact that UPS is they're the
Yeah.
ones that deliver him all the way
That's
there.
true.
Yeah. This movie it came from the Adam Sandler school of like product placements, not so subtly like placed, but very front and center.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah,
love
UPS
that.
probably saw Castaway, and they were like, we need to show everyone that we're dedicated to our customers too. So they shipped George all the way to Africa.
We'll ship a person.
Yes. Tookie, the toucan, finds George and tells him that Ape has been ape-napped. So George leaves, but first he gives Ursula his crocodile tooth while she's sleeping.
Again, very sweet because he still has her little ring.
Mm-hmm. And when she finds out that he has left, she goes and blames her mother, rightfully so, because she's the one who made it happen. Also being ape-napped, but either way. And so this is when mom is kind of saying, like, you can't be in love with him, like, this kind of love will never last. And then this is when Ursula finally realizes that she does, in fact, love him.
And Daddy says, go for it, baby. Get that man.
And he says that his wife is a pain in the ass.
Does he?
Yes, he says that woman's a pain in the ass.
Wow.
Which they must have cut for Disney Channel, but
They just changed the scene.
and then the next line is the narrator saying, like, speaking of painful, like, pain in the ass.
Wow.
So they mentioned it a couple times. but-
Wow. What a very bold 30 seconds of this movie.
Yes. Also, the dad is played by Matthew Perry's actual dad, which I thought was interesting.
Work.
I knew Matthew Perry had a father out there, but I didn't realize that he was an actor, let alone George of the Jungle.
Well, this guy looked familiar. Like, he has, like, not Michael Keaton, Alec Baldwin in Beetlejuice kind of vibes. Like, he kind of looks like him, but yeah, Matthew Perry's dad.
Cool.
Now I have to look at pictures of Matthew Perry and his father next to each other.
Okay, so yes, Ursula, she's on her way to Africa. We don't see how she gets there, but she arrives later. But we see that George arrives there
Through UPS. They took her.
via UPS, and he runs with his new Nike Airs. And we also have Max and Thor realizing that the map that they've been using is fake, and Ape is kind of giving them a hard time, telling them to go to the treehouse next, and they're not believing him. They think they're tricking him again. It's a whole thing. George arrives at the treehouse and finds it ransacked, and Ape and Max and Thor arrive, and this is a big fight scene.
It gives me very like Viva Rock Vegas or like any of the Flintstones movies where it's just like animal hijinks. Pop, 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 pop. When he's shooting the coconuts.
Yes, yeah, we have the monkey and Tookie and Shep helping out, shooting things out of Shep's trunk.
He shoots the bird. Tookie goes flying like a bullet.
They're working as a team. We love teamwork. But Ursula is ultimately the one that comes in and saves the day. So shout out, girl power. We love that. And then, of course, Lyle shows up, where he now is an ordained minister
And a cult leader.
There's like a mention of occults that I never caught until this viewing.
I again love just the spontaneous. I don't need an explanation as to why. They were just like, on his free time he did this. Here you go.
Yeah, I mean that's the great thing about this one, because it's like it operates like a cartoon, right? Like it uses the same logic, right? A standard movie would have to explain, like, or at least show you how
Like,
Lyle out of the jail.
It
and
would
how
cut
he's
back to
cult.
him, do the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in this one, he's like, no, he just shows up. He's wearing all black now, and he's in the cult, and he's a mega baddie. He's just powered up.
It's very. I think the other movie that I can like strongly say reminds me of this is like the Emperor's New Groove.
Mm.
where it's just like there's a narrator. He's very meta. Like that scene of like where Yzma and Kronk fall down and they're like, well, how did we get here? And he's like, well, honestly, I have no fucking clue. We're just here now. Like that's that peak level of comedy, just like it just happens. Things happen.
We have one last so Lyle's goons, he has like some guys with him, capture George. But we have one last bongogram where the ninja apes come in and save George. Had to go off with the bang with that last bongogram. And then we have George saving Ursula because there's this big river scene. Lyle trying to marry her while they're on the river.
Work.
Great scene. George ends up saving her when, he falls into the tree, it tips over, pulls her up, and then Lyle ends up kissing an ape.
Which is not weird because they are legally married at that point.
Mm-hmm. So that's allowed.
Yeah.
Legally, that's allowed.
And then this is where Ursula and George say "I love you" to each other, and then we have a smash cut to the wedding at the treehouse. They somehow got everyone flown out here.
Mm-hmm.
The animals are all there. Daylaw is playing again. I love the bit of Betsy, the best friend, catching the bouquet, but the apes fighting over
Pulling
it.
her ass away from it.
Yes.
I love
also,
the Jane Goodall name drop.
That's my favorite part of this scene right here.
That's what I was going to say too. Jane Goodall. You are no Jane Goodall, ma'am.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then sometime later, we have baby George.
Later to be played by the boy from 2.5 Men.
Yes. And we have the narrator saying like, so how did this guy meet his princess and like live happily ever after, all these things? And he says his George just lucky, I guess. And we have that nod to the Lion King with the Pride Rock scene.
That's the live action Lion King that we should have gotten. I don't know what the hell that CGI monster was, but this is the one.
Another one of my favorite parts of this movie has always been just these end credits rolling and then hearing Ape's voice say, "Stop.
Wait a minute. How about me?"
Yeah, seeing those credits kind of fumble around and then seeing his Vegas show where he performs My Way. Mm-hmm. Incredible way to end a film, I think.
In like the weirdest cadence, because I'm so used to My Way being so like long and drawn out that I was like, oh, he's gonna go for it. And then it's like kind of fast.
Yeah, it's very up-tempo, very disco.
Yeah, he had to kind of revamp it.
It was good.
For the show, for the Vegas show.
Gotta give him credit for that. It's not an easy feat.
And that's like a nod to how like Max and Thor were talking about taking him to Vegas because of Siegfried and Roy and everything. So, and he did it himself.
Yeah, but they're in the show too. I don't know how to sign up for this or
the bad guys. I was like, Siegfried and Roy are there
in the tree.
Yeah, as a tree. Yeah. No, the ending is pitch perfect. It's just like everything you want out of a movie like this. Bad guy gets what he deserves. Good guys end up together, and then an ape named Ape sings a song.
No one died.
Nobody died. Just boo-boos, and that's the movie.
Yeah.
And now we will have Andrew read some IMDb reviews.
IMDb.
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 Yeah, so I'm gonna pull from the negative reviews, right? Not because I want to be, rude or condescending or contrarian or anything to these guys, but I'm always when I find a movie that I really, really like, I do appreciate reading the viewpoint of someone who came out with like the polar opposite perspective that I went in with, right? Or came out with. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, we're just gonna start with here. Some good ones here. We'll just start with the very first one. And the title is by Flick Addict. That is the name of the user. Written August 10th, 1999. Flick Addict writes, "I'm sorry, but this film is one of the worst I have ever seen. I rented it because of Brendan Fraser, who plays George. I saw him in School Ties, a delightful film and one of his earlier and I think best roles. Because of that film, he caught my attention as a great and promising young actor. After seeing this horrible, not funny at all copy of the Tarzan movies, I'm beginning to have second thoughts about his acting talents. Why does an actor with so much talent agree to star in a film like this? That's what I asked myself the entire 88 minutes of this absolutely boring film. I've seen a number of other films like Still Breathing or Blast from the Past in which Brendan Fraser is really great. So why on earth did he accept a role in which the only thing he seems to do is smile stupidly, flying around in a jaguar print bikini, making irritating attempts at being the funniest guy in the jungle? And not to mention the special effects, fake trees, silly puppet lines, and actors in shabby gorilla outfits. Skip forward a little bit. For little kids, it might be entertaining, but I actually found this film in the adult section of our video store, which says more about the video store than it does about the movie itself. Not funny at all, and a real shame for such a promising actor as Brendan Fraser. I would give this comedy 1 out of 10 for adults and 6 out of 10 for children. So just first and foremost, what I would say if this gentleman, Flick Addict, approached me with this perspective, I would say,
Cut him up for throwing hands.
no, I'm not gonna throw hands. I mean, it's totally fine if you disagree, but I think it speaks more to Brendan Fraser's ability as a performer that he can do both kinds of performances. He can give you both kinds of performances, and both are equally as entertaining and as committed, and as, I don't know, enlightening. I don't know how else to say it, but like there's just something about someone who can go from, stuff like Still Breathing to this, and then, Dudley Do Right, and then years later knock out a performance like The Whale, right? It speaks to his abilities, right? Maybe the movie didn't work for this person, for Mr. Flick Addict, but I would say that it still like works, right, for what the movie's trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm. And I would say, like, going from School Ties, them saying like, "Oh my God, I love School Ties," and then going into this, like, 2 very different movies. Like, if you went in with like one mindset, like, you're gonna have a different outlook on it for sure.
Mm-hmm. And to like again to he's not in the sequel. Obviously, we've already addressed that, but from what I remember, he declined an opportunity in the sequel because he wanted to do something a little different, and he ended up doing Gods and Monsters, which is a fantastic movie and another like truly memorable performance by Brendan. But yeah, that just speaks to his ability to choose the roles that he wants, that felt more like challenges or whatever. You could split hairs about stuff like Furry Vengeance or whatever, right? Stuff that maybe seemed like a more desperate attempt to just retain, I guess, action status, blockbuster status or whatever. But in these years, in like the mid 90s, early 2000s, I mean, he really was picking some really challenging roles.
Yes, I agree.
I've never seen Gods and Monsters, but boy howdy, am I gonna now, because hello.
Are you reading the summary? It's great. It's a good
No, I'm just looking at pictures of Brendan Fraser shirtless and putting a gas mask on.
Yeah, that'll do it too. But I mean, I just think that like, Mr. Flick Addict, like I hope he's out there. I hope he's listening. What can I do, to win you over? I mean, ultimately the decision's yours, but I want you to know, if you want to come over, we can watch George of the Jungle together. Maybe you can see it in a different perspective watching with people who are clearly big fans of the movie.
For sure. And maybe that's Flick from A Bug's Life. We don't know.
He mad.
Has not been confirmed.
Well, he's Flick Addict, so he's either addicted.
He's Hopper.
Yeah, guess so. Yeah. So there's that one, and then here's another one. It's called, the title is "It Is What It Is." The username is Barris Ford JD. I'll just read a couple lines here. Richard Roundtree must have been desperate to appear in such a film. I am aware that John Cleese has to pay loads of alimony to ex-wives, so he needs to do whatever comes his way, as he does. I imagine he simply did not do it for the money. It's a stupid movie for kids and it has no other pretensions. But when one compares it to, say, Nanny McPhee, which is a similar unrealistic tone, then it suffers very badly. It is which actors appear and then spend most of their entire career living it down. I mean, that may very well be the case, but at no point, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but at no point do I feel that any of these guys, from like, top billing to bottom billing, phoned it in. I feel like everyone, like I said earlier, just kind of committed to these performances and had a great time with it.
Oh, absolutely not. Everyone here was in it to win it.
And like John Cleese, Richard Roundtree, like I haven't heard them say anything, but like I assume like maybe they were fans of like the original cartoon, like the source material, and like they had a history with it, or maybe they just, saw a fun script and went with it. But don't bring Nanny McPhee into this.
I was
Nanny
also gonna
McPhee
say,
did
don't you
nothing.
fucking dare bad mouth my fucking beautiful nanny.
No, I think for those dudes, like maybe it was just a cash grab. I wouldn't hold it against them. Like, who wants to voice like an ape, right? But like, it speaks to their professionalism that like, even if it was a cash grab, like I didn't get the feeling that anyone was phoning it in. Even Richard Roundtree, who is an iconic performer, has like a bit role in this movie, but like he's still like hams it up with everyone else.
I mean, we've heard many. I mean, Sarah and I have heard and like read many stories of actors that are just like, yeah, my daughter really liked this person, so I did the movie because they wanted me to do it. So like,
Yeah.
who the hell knows and who the hell cares? They did great.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I mean, I there's tons of really great stuff, really great reviews for the movie. I do think that like maybe it's not on the same level as The Mummy is, as far as like your reappraisal in like modern society or whatever. But I do think George of the Jungle deserves that same recognition as a movie that like maybe we wrote off, when we were younger, or when it was first released, but conceptually now it just feels so refreshing and different than like what you see on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like I can't think of like a recent comedy that feels as like self-referential and like meta
Without
as
it
this
being
one.
like mean, because it was never self-referent. Like, sorry, it was never self-referent. Like, it was never self-deprecating. This movie was never like, ugh. It was just like, we're gonna break the third wall and do whatever we want. Like, I also love the bit of the elephant when he has the bone in his mouth, and the narrator's like, that's
They
just too
cut it.
much. Get rid of it.
Yeah. And then Roger Ebert saw that and said, "What?" He wanted the bone back.
I would say, if anything, it reminds me of in stylistically, like in tone, the Lego movie from not so long ago, which very well could have been like a really terrible movie, but you got good writers, you got good performances, people knew what they were doing with it. It was self-aware, self-referential, but not like so much that like it was kind of ironic for the sake of just being ironic or whatever, but also a very good-natured movie, good-hearted movie.
Mhm.
You're like the fifth person in just the last week alone to mention this goddamn Lego movie, and now I'm just gonna have to watch it because apparently it's great.
It's a great movie.
I
It's
never
good.
saw it, but okay, I'll trust.
Yeah, I know it's like beloved. I never saw it. I did see the Playmobil movie. No,
Oh,
I'm just kidding. I didn't see that one.
I was gonna say.
No. But yeah, and I think like Andrew brought up a good point of like a lot of movies now are very like cynical and nothing feels as just like genuinely just like heartwarming. Like I always say that's why I love like the Muppets so much, is they're very like sincere, genuine, and not trying to like
They're not trying to make you overthink something and make you feel
Or-
something. It's like you'll
or,
feel
like,
it if you feel it.
punch down or anything. It's just supposed
Yeah.
to be like, this is going to be a fun time for everyone, and like just instead of trying to like hate things or kind of like have like dark humor, even though there's like a time and a place for that, like just have fun for like 90 minutes and
Mhm.
relax. So
Sure. You brought up the Muppets. I can't do it. We can't go down that road because we will be here for hours if we're gonna talk
oh
about
yes, of course.
is-
No, we had a whole Muppet movie May last year. Juan knows I love the
Good.
Muppets. I have a Muppets tattoo. No, and that's why another reason why I probably fell in love with you guys at Super Yaki was just undying love for the Muppets. Of course, we have
Those
to
little
stand.
felt bastards.
We love.
I do. I think stuff like the Muppets in George of the Jungle. I don't know if you guys feel the same, but for me, I wonder, do am I like so drawn to that to the Muppets, to George of the Jungle, these kinds of movies, these kinds of good-hearted, like kind-hearted, genuine movies, because that's just naturally how I feel about things, or did those movies leave a lasting impression on me at such a young age that now I'm just sort of trying to recapture that, like, that high when I first watched this stuff, and it sort of defined my tastes in movies, you know? So it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? Either way, I'm just like unabashedly like a huge proponent of like genuine sincerity, of like kind-heartedness, you know, in movies, you know, like ham it up, be super sappy, you know. There's place and time for all kinds of movies too, but for me, my personal like stroke is for these kinds of movies. And I think that's why Joe the Jungle just resonated so well with me.
You just
I
need
agree.
a palate cleanser. I think everyone needs a palate cleanser, and George of the Jungle can be the best one.
What are all of our final thoughts on the movie? What would we give it out of 5 stars? Juan, will go you, then me, then Andrew as the last one.
Okay, again, I was ready to go into this being like, wow, wow, wow. And then I turned out to be like, wow, wow, wow. I love this fucking movie. I didn't think I was gonna love it as much as I did. It's fucking great. It's beautiful. It's funny. It's so funny. Again, time and a place, me at 3 p.m. yesterday would have been glorious. Will I recreate that magic? Oh, absolutely. You bet yourself. If I have a bad day, it's George of the Jungle time. I'm gonna put me some little George of the Jungle time. I'm gonna say 5 stars. This is fucking, he's slapping.
I would agree. This is definitely like this isn't one that I've thrown on as like a comfort movie necessarily as like a go-to, but like one I definitely could because I know it so well. It'll make me feel like a kid again. I don't really have anything bad to say about it, so I think I'm honestly just gonna give it 5 stars.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm right there with you. For me, every movie I watch is either it was good or 5 stars. It was great. You know, very rarely do I ever come across something that's just like, yeah, it just wasn't for me. Because I think going into the movie, you sort of know enough about it that you can sort of figure out like this is going to be something I'm going to enjoy, right? And I rarely do I put myself in a position to watch something that from the offset I know I'm not going to get something out of, right? Like, you know what, this is just it's not for me. That's okay. You know, Godspeed. I'm going to go watch something else, right?
What a very strong Jane Krakowski energy of you.
Well, I mean, I just like I know what I like, right? And I love George of the Jungle, right? I'm not gonna lie. Like, there's so much mixed into this. There's the nostalgia. There's the fact that it is just a well-made 88-minute runtime movie, right? That's like, you know, God's time, right? That's the perfect length of a movie. There's just so many components into what makes this a special movie for me that it's hard to separate all of my feelings about it, right? So yeah, with that being said, 5 stars. Great job. You know, hats off to everyone involved.
Mm-hmm.
Hats off to everyone. Should have won a BAFTA, but hopefully, you know, Brendan will win all the.
Come.
It's not it's not too late.
Yeah.
Technically, the rule book says Georgia of the Jungle cannot win a BAFTA.
They didn't say a dog can't play on the basketball team. They didn't say George of the Jungle couldn't be nominated.
Don't bring
this
that
year.
golden retriever nonsense into here.
There's no rule book.
They didn't say it.
Re-release it in theaters.
I'm gonna tweet at the Academy and I'll say, okay, but you didn't say that a movie from 1997 couldn't win in 2023.
It just had to have been before the thing, right?
It just had to be released before this year.
Yeah, that's how I've read it.
Andrew, thank you for coming on and celebrating Fraser February with us. Where can people find Super Yaki and buy all of your cool stuff?
Yeah, well, we're on the internet. We have a name that you can search, Super Yaki. We have a shop, superyaki.com. We make a lot of stuff for movies that we love. Mostly it's just t-shirts and apparel, but we also make a bunch of other cool junk. We all work really hard at what we do. We love what we do. We love movies very much. And even if you don't like the movies that we like, you know, we hope that there's something in there that you might enjoy. But yeah, just thank you guys for having me. It's been a real honor and a privilege to be here, share this last few hours with you, talking about George of the Jungle. Never gonna forget it.
Thank you. Neither will we. All right. Have a good night. Enjoy LA for those of us that can't visit right now. And yeah, thank you.
Will do. Thank you guys.
Thank you again to Andrew for coming on the show. Like we said, it's been a year in the making. Like we were gonna have, I don't know if you guys remember, but like we had mentioned like, oh, next week we're gonna do George of the Jungle. That was like last summer, I think. And then we were like, just kidding, that's been pushed back. And that was because, frankly, because of the freezes in Texas and the government not doing anything to help Andrew and fellow Texans when all their power got fucked up from the freezes and he
Listen.
had to rebuild.
If we've learned anything, is that politicians can say whatever and do completely the opposite. Or even worse, commit to their bit.
But yeah, I'm glad we finally were able to have Andrew on because we've been such a fan of Super Yaki for a while. They really own my ass at this point. Wearing their shirt, I sleep with the blanket. I just bought the Muppet mug. Half my closet is their stuff. We have to love. And POC owned. We love that, and we love it's just a small business for people, like Andrew said. So go pick something up. Superyaki.com. Link in the description. In case you haven't heard of it, but like they're getting bigger and bigger. Everyone's loving them. Kelly Marie Tran said, I freaking love their shirt. Ryan Johnson said, oh my God, look at this shirt with my name on it. Guillermo del Toro said, oh my God, they made an enamel pin of my face. Look at this. I love them so much.
Guillermo Papi del Toro.
Papi himself. So
My
yeah,
Papi.
go pick something up if you're wanting to celebrate this, Fraser February. Obviously, they have the iconic bumper sticker that we mentioned up in their shop. They also have a Fraser Universe t-shirt and a different bumper sticker, a sticker that looks like my shirt, just the Encino Man text of Brendan Fraser. And of course, a bunch of other stuff, whether you like Scream or Shrek or School of Rock and everything in between. They have stuff for people who just like fun movies, so go check them out. And
Bye.
with that, Juan's camera went out. With that, let's give a shout out to the one, the only
Do you want me to try to come back on cam?
No, it's fine.
Oh, well, too bad.
Okay.
Surprise, bitch. Iris, that's who it is. Iris is our podcast artist. You can follow her on Instagram and on a little fucking monster fucking website called Twitter. I forgot. Instagram and Twitter at Creamsicle Panda. You can also support her financially at Creamsicle Panda on Patreon at patreon.com/Creamsicle Panda. Take a shot every time I say Creamsicle Panda.
Yes.
Get wasted! Get fucking wasted! Slay queen! Slay!
I don't know why, but I was just thinking about like how sometimes you'll be hanging out, like we'll be hanging out with Frankie and he'll just yell slay. And I don't know why.
I love it when Frankie goes, slay.
Slay. Anyways, you know what would be very slay of everyone is if they follow us on Twitter and Instagram and Tumblr, if you have that, at Planet Weird Pod. We've been, retweeting and posting and doing things and posting the reels for the algorithms and so forth and such with. And on Tumblr, we've been making some GIFs. What? Photoshop Queen me making some GIFs, yes, of like Even Stevens, because we just covered that this month on Patreon, and I'll do some more.
Is that why you said this will be an amazing reaction photo? Or reaction GIF?
For what? Of what?
Let's put our head backs and laugh.
Oh no, that is a reaction GIF already that I see people using a lot, is what I was saying.
I thought we were gonna be innovative.
You thought we were gonna be viral.
I thought we were gonna do something.
No. But anyways, follow us if you would care to do so. Leave a review wherever you are listening, rate and review. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening. We appreciate that. How else to support us? Ooh, we got that Patreon. What? That's right. If you don't know, every other week
we do Patreon episodes. So, we have our like 2 main feed movie episodes we do each month, like your Journey to the Center of the Earth, your George of the Jungle. But over on Patreon, we do 2 episodes about a Disney Channel series. We are doing each one. We are going in order. So this month we talked about Even Stevens. We did the pilot and the episode where Beans is introduced because that changed
Why
television
not?
history.
And next month we're gonna do more Even Stevens episodes because what? No.
No, we will be talking about a show called In a Heartbeat, which
I forgot.
is like the last forgotten Disney Channel show pre like the golden era where things really started taking off, where it would got into Lizzie McGuire and That's So Raven and stuff. So In a Heartbeat is like this random show about these kids who I guess are like teen EMTs or something.
What?
EMTs in training. I don't know. I've never seen it, but it's on YouTube because
Teen MTs?
it's not on Disney Plus, sadly. But so we're gonna watch the pilot of that and then another episode of it. And if you want to hear us talk about that next month and figure out what the hell this weird Disney show is, then sign
What
up
the
for our
hell is even
Patreon.
that?
Or if you want to see video versions of these movie episodes, you can also join our Patreon and see our faces and stuff when we do these. You can see my background with Brendan Fraser.
Ooh. You can see Andrew's amazing pillow tower.
Yes, his table with some pillows in the background. We love. You also get a shout out on the end of the episodes if you are a patron at the $5 and up tiers.
You mean like what's gonna happen right now?
I do, Juan. That's Grace Worspan, Shelby Deacon, Emily Palmer, Jared Van Leeuwen, Enrique Buenrostro, Jose Contreras Jr., Lindsay Britt, Natalie Hernandez, Aisa Yusuf, Fiona Hart, and Ivy.
Go swing from that vine.
I was going to say George.
No, too easy.
Okay. Well, Ivy texted us saying, you guys really did this instead of this.
Glowbird, shut the fuck up.
Ivy will give us the sassiest text, and we're like, you're lucky you get a shout out.
Girl, I mean, she could pull that money whenever she wants.
You should...
Don't say that.
You should be paying us more money to shout you out. The shit you put us through.
You should be lucky I let you make fun of me.
No. It's all love. Thank you to those people, to our patrons. We very
Wait,
much...
which one are we gonna go with then? Good George or...
She can tweet both of them in her Twitter thread.
I wanted to do something with like watch out for that tree.
No.
But that's long.
Thank you to those people. We appreciate it. Yeah, so thank you very much. We've got merch, links in the description. I'm gonna put up a Luck of the Irish like shirt you can wear for St. Patrick's Day. So buy it now so you can wear it on that day. It's just gonna say I'm watching The Luck of the Irish 2001 tonight. Because that's what everyone is really doing on St. Patrick's Day, am I right? No one
Getting
drinks
drunk?
anymore.
Drinking? What's that?
Who does that?
Listen, I haven't had a sip of alcohol in at least 24 hours.
At least 24 minutes. This podcast, which has been going on for more than that. And we also have just stuff in our regular merch store. It's never too early to get ready for Halloween, guys. We got some Halloween Town socks and pins. We've also got a Cheetah Girls pin, a Shrimpy from Zombies pin. Just go check out stuff. If the more stuff you buy, more new stuff we can put out. I have ideas for new pins and such, but you gotta buy.
And what if
sell,
I
sell,
start to
sell.
get in the pin game too? What then?
Then you can, and he might. And that's
I
a threat.
will.
That's a threat to everyone.
I see you, Strike Gently Co. I see you, Super Yaki.
God, Super Yaki. Who even likes them?
As you wear their merch and as we had them on.
me wrapping this blanket around me. Who
would
does
want this?
that?
It's so warm.
Anyways, it has been a very lovely month of watching these movies starring Brendan Fraser himself. I know not ones that we did on the podcast, but I just watched a bunch yesterday just to kind of commemorate this month.
I might fuck around and go watch Gods and Monsters now.
Do it.
That looks
it.
good. And not just because Brendan Fraser looks very horny in it, but it looks like a good movie.
I'm sure next year we can continue with Fraser February. We always have Blast from the Past, The Mummy, we got Bedazzled, we got Encino Man, we could do tons
the fuck
of
is
movies.
Bedazzle?
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna have to look
That's
this
a
up
whole
later.
other thing. That's a whole other conversation. But guys, it's about to be March. And it's a new month, new theme, and I know you're all wondering what the theme is gonna be.
What is it gonna be?
And I'm about to tell you. And
Leprechaun March.
Juan doesn't know, but I made this month just for him. Note that this is not for me because I famously am
Mighty Morphin March.
No, we already
Oh.
did that movie. I famously am not the biggest fan of this movie just because it like traumatized me as a child.
Mansformers.
But next month, get ready for Matilda March. Slap! That's right.
Are we going to be watching the original and the Netflix one?
We will be watching the original Danny DeVito's Matilda, and we will also be watching the Netflix movie Matilda the Musical. This is just for you, sweetie.
This is my moment. This is for me.
Yes, and we should be back in
excited.
person. We should be back in person for those since you aren't sicky anymore.
Was I ever sicky?
Oh yeah, or your allergies. Sorry, whatever. Either way.
I'm still reeling over the traumatic information that is. LOL, you have allergies.
Hug, hug, kiss, kiss. We can do that. But yes, so get excited for Matilda March, everyone.
I can't wait. I can't wait for you to experience both the original Matilda and the musical.
I saw the musical when it came out.
I can't wait. If you diss it, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you in my house.
Matilda, the one starring Mara Wilson that Danny DeVito made, that one is on HBO Max right now if you would like to watch it. And then the musical, like I said, is on Netflix. So if you would like to watch either of those and then send us your thoughts, feel free to. Twitter, Instagram, podcastfromplanetweird@gmail.com, whatever. And then, like we said, if you want to get in on the Patreon fun, go ahead and sign up and you can hang out with us virtually in your ear holes, and you'll hear us talk about this weird Disney Channel show that everyone forgets existed.
It kind of sucks that Matilda gets sandwiched in between this show. It could have been Lizzie McGuire. Icons versus icons.
But it's not. Not. Anyways, thank you all for listening. Thank you once again to Andrew. And thank you to Brendan Fraser.
Thank you.
May he just continue to rule the industry.
God damn you, Brendan Fraser. God damn you and your beautiful, beautiful body and amazing, amazing acting skills and just being such a great person. Oh my God.
George of the jungle, watch out!